Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you guy gets caught. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, today is the non-farms payroll, and expecting this one to be another big one. I don't know if it's necessarily quite as big as the last one, because the last one, it was like, well, this could determine whether or not we get a cut, but it was also like super bad, right? This one is not expected to be as bad because we don't have the effects of the hurricane. So the consensus is 220K, and I'm actually hearing things about above expectations. If it's significantly below expectations, though, that could be like a huge jolt to the market. So let's see what happens really quickly. We'll go through some of the charts here. All right, the news squawk is going off in my ear, so it's a little hard for me to focus on my words here, but I think I can do it. Here we got ZN. We're pretty much where we were yesterday. It looks like they recovered some of that downside in the end. S&P 500 down a little bit from yesterday. I am going to fix that this weekend, I think. Oil down a bit. Actually, maybe breaking the bottom of that range. That could be bad news for oil. We could keep an eye on that one today. Gold and silver. Well, gold's still in the range. Silver. Actually, this was kind of a recovery, so I don't know if that one's a big deal. Kappa's still just going sideways. Japanese yen. Not much of a development from earlier in this week, but the movement earlier in the week was, I would say, significant. And then we got Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin got well over 100K after another Trump appointment, but it looks like they have come back down below the 100K mark. That's actually very fascinating. So that is where we're at. I just want to note, as I should probably note, for all of the non-farm payroll events. Number one, this is a super risky event. You are crazy if you are holding a position going into it. Crazy or rich. Also, keep in mind that there's a bunch of numbers that are released. There is a household survey and a business survey. And all of those numbers matter. I mean, we're going to read that non-farms employment change. That's the biggest one. But there is so much data in this report. So there is actually a lot of room for nuance in this, and especially if we come close to in line with the headline number, but things like the unemployment rate ticking up or average earnings going up, things like that can end up being the thing that really matters. So there's that. Also, we do have University of Michigan sentiment today as well. So I have a little bit of food I think I can eat before we go here. I started a little bit earlier, so there's probably not many of you here yet. Yep, no, we'll go. All right, guys, here we go. Okay, slightly above expectations, 227 versus 220. They are moving up, though. What's with that? Unemployment rate ticked up 4.2%. Unemployment rate ticked up 4.2%. This is interesting. Okay, what about some of the other things? Private payrolls under expectation, 194 versus 205K. Manufacturing payrolls significantly below their expectation, 22K versus 30K. Where is average earnings month over month? Spot 4 versus spot 3. So somewhat of a stagflationary print. Okay, so there was the knee-jerk reaction on the number being higher than expected that pushed us down. And then it looks like the tick down in the unemployment rate really pushed us up. I'd say that's a pretty strong move on the upside as well. We've been hanging out around that 111-ish for a long time. So to be, well, above 111.16, that's a pretty significant development. If I can show you here on like a daily chart. Right, that's like right at the higher end of the range that we've been in for a week or so. So we're jumping up there pretty high. We do have a moving average at 21.5. 21.5-ish, which is about where things stopped. So I think that there's a lot of room for nuance in this report again. And so we might see some retracement and all manner of back and forth on this one, but it does look like they are making the call to buy all the things. The economy is fucked, so buy all the things. It's transitory, screwed, no big deal. Japanese yen's moving pretty big off of that. Gold is moving pretty big off of that. Oil, not doing a whole lot. I gotta remember, we could keep an eye on oil because it's kind of been breaking its range here. Okay, well, it's forming a pretty good hole at 13.5. By the way, this is a good instance to talk about the inventory cost basis and situations when you should not use it, right? Big, huge news. It's going to break all the stops. The lines don't matter in this situation. Now, after things kind of settle down, we'll see where the market makers ended up, and that might be a good place to see a pullback to. Blessed are the rich. Where did that... It really is a K-shaped economy. More and more and more. The top quintile are doing amazing. And, the middle quintile is doing kind of so-so, but not really going anywhere. And the bottom is just really struggling. I should take that back because it's not actually like the whole bottom quintile. There is a group of people that's maybe about Well, it's probably not even 25%. It's like 5%. There's like 5% that's like really struggling right now. They're not necessarily the bottom quintile of earners. So the whole thing here is will the Federal Reserve cut interest rates in December? And I still feel that they should, but I do wonder with the numbers that we just got there and some of the rumblings that I've been getting from the Federal Reserve, if that is really actually correct. While this is going on, I want to try a little experiment here based on something someone was showing me. I think, oh, I don't have them. Oh, no, wait, I do. I do have. Wait, what's your understanding of the War of Gog and Magog? Why would you bring that up? Okay, so the War of Gog and Magog is supposed to be like the final ultimate battle before the end times. So it gets a little bit weird when you start to talk about the end of the world, because Christians interpret those, revelations radically differently from each other. And Mormons have a lot of ideas about what happens at the end of the world that, as far as I can tell, are radically different from a lot of other mainstream Christians, because Mormons don't really believe in the rapture. They think that you're reading way too much into one, misreading one scripture. There's other things that Mormons believe based on, comments from Joseph Smith and prophets and things like that. Because Mormons basically believe that there will be like the end of the world, but that's not actually the end of the world. That what will happen is Christ will come back and rule on the earth for 1,000 years. And then after 1,000 years, then there will be like the end. which it gets kind of interesting because that kind of seems to line up with some of the things that I hear people talk about with the Anunnaki, right? That like the Anunnaki will come back, and yeah, except for that the things I'm hearing is like this time when the Anunnaki come back, when the binary star comes back, the Earth will just be toast and everybody will die. But anyways, I got a friend who's gone deep into this over the last few years. Wow. Is he going wild with the alien stuff though? I tell you what, man, these drones being all over different military bases and things like that, that's getting really wild. So at first, he's gone wild. Well, but the thing is that they like, there's like this strange intersection of them. Like all of the, okay, so I don't really know where this started. I kind of wonder if it's kind of like the person that is likely to be extremely religious is also likely to be enticed by UFOs and theories about that. You know, I don't know what the deal is, but Bob Lazar, who's this probably one of the most prominent UFO quote unquote whistleblowers, he claims that basically he worked on an alien spacecraft out in the desert, essentially. And that, you know, he got some information, although not a lot, about what they knew about the aliens. And he said that the aliens viewed us as containers. Like, and he wasn't quite sure what that meant, but that it was like containers for souls or something like that. And so in the UFOlogy, there's this strange intersection that like, okay, maybe religion was invented by the aliens, and that, you know, it is true in describing real scientific phenomenons, and that like souls are a real thing, and that aliens, because they understand the science behind souls, that's, you know, part of their, you know. And then it also gets into like multi-dimensional stuff as well, right? And so there's this really strange intersection between UFOlogy and like spiritualism. Another thing that will come up is that there were the FBI, they experimented with all sorts of stupid things. You know, people would claim certain stuff, and their approach was like, well, who are we to say that that's wrong? Let's just try. And they're just going to try everything and see if they can collect empirical evidence on it and all of those sorts of things. And one of the things that they messed around a lot with was like astral projection and remote viewing. They'd have, you know, these psychics, and they'd say, go to this place and look at what you see, and then try and find a way to verify if what that person was seeing was correct and stuff like that. So those documents have since been made public, and so the UFOlogists are also all into all of that. Dude's typing hundreds of pages worth of analysis about what's going on in the Middle East right now, particularly Russian involvement now in Syria. Really? Well, so I tell you what, with Syria, I'm not particularly like in the know on what's going on there. I honestly, I feel bad because I don't think that I am quite as up on my being informed on the world politics bit in particular as I normally would be, because I'll spend like all afternoon watching the kids, and I'm not like at my computer, so I'm just not able to find as much good information and read as much. But the rebels in Syria have made some pretty significant moves, which is bad news for the Syrian government and Russia, frankly. And it's kind of puts Russia in a hard spot because it's like they have to divert resources over to Syria and all of that sort of stuff, right? But so like there's been movement over in Syria. Now that was like a week ago, so I don't know what the situation is now. But so there is absolutely stuff going on in Syria. He's very convinced, oh, that maybe that's like the Battle of Gog and Magog or something like that. But then you get into all this weird stuff like, okay, where is that place actually? And I tell you what, so there's this guy, what is his name? Daniel McClellan. He used to be the like a scriptorian for the Mormon Church. And I think that since then he became famous enough on social media to kind of go off on his own. But basically this guy is an expert in like all of the archaeology that we have on scripture and all of the like the history that we know and the language and the different translations of it and all of those sorts of things to come in and say, okay, so like when they talk about this place, where actually is that place and those sorts of things. So that's maybe a person to ask about that to see what he says about that. Like if you want like the best peer-reviewed research on that subject to maybe verify what your friend is saying, I would go and see if Dan McClellan has said anything about it. Or just go onto his TikTok and ask him. Somebody showed me what I think is a bug with the dollar index, with the synthetic dollar index. And I thought, oh, well, is it because it doesn't work on Heikin bars or something like that? But I just changed my chart to Heikin bars and doesn't have a problem with it. So I don't know. Maybe if I wait long enough. I'm getting that issue on SES over here again today. So I guess that's good because maybe I can debug it. I have to watch the kids today and I have to go to Costco, but maybe in the afternoon I will have enough time to watch it. It's a lot harder to debug things when we don't have active data. Okay, what's the difference with the package that you shared on the Discord the other day? Good question. Am I in the right one? So this is not actually an actual complete list, but so I have fixed some of the caching stuff so that it works with backtesting, and I was able to put it into base classes so that when I make changes, they are applied consistently across all of the order flow based indicators. Not all of the indicators cache, but the ones that are, about market depth or orders, they do. I also added the caching to the inventory cost basis. So, you know, I didn't think that it needed that, but it's kind of like you might as well, because if you're going to backtest on that, you want it to be fast, right? I also added a new indicator called the inventory cost basis companion. So I can show you an example of that over here. So basically what this indicator is doing, it's this bit right here, by the way. It's this bit right here. There is a bunch of data series underneath of the inventory cost basis. Like if you come into the indicators and you look at it, inventory cost basis, and you scroll down, like these are all data series that you can show. But the issue is that these first 4 are indicators that like draw on price, right? Whereas the rest of these are all things that are used to calculate that information. And you would want to put on a subplot. So like if you wanted to see those things, you had to add the inventory cost basis twice, which was a real pain because it's like an expensive indicator, right? Like it can use a lot of data processing, that is. So what I did was I created this companion, and what the companion does is it goes and it finds the inventory cost basis on the chart. Like it goes and it finds the other indicator, and it's displaying the data from the other indicator. Now, the one downside of that is that the companion, because of that, the companion cannot see like the current values that are being drawn, so it's a bar behind. But that companion is interesting. So now you can see like, oh, okay, even despite that huge move, the market makers seem to be more taking on buying inventory at the moment for some reason. So probably you want to be buying, right? Okay, so that's the companion. I've added a cumulative delta in there. Yeah, this companion, well, I wouldn't say the other signals, but the other data series that are basically hidden. Yes. In particular, how much inventory the model thinks is open is the thing that I find interesting. Yeah. Okay. I created my own version of cumulative delta that caches and draws candles. So, you know, like I've always used Sim22's cumulative delta, but I have drawing code that's slightly more efficient, and I have the caching. So I got all of that with the caching. It works on each tick. Some of these indicators also have like this issue where like if what you're seeing is always one market event behind. Mine doesn't have that problem. Okay. I added a new version of resting orders. So I've actually had this one for a long time, and I had like resting orders and resting orders filtered. And my intention was to replace the old resting orders with this new version because I thought it was better, right? But I've since decided that you should just have both. So I added that new one in. Okay. Then it has the data pipe, which I think, well, because I gave you the alpha before, right? Yeah, so you should know about that. So you got the data pipe. Then there's a couple of other things that I changed in here, like the file names change. So this will change like some of your data. Like for instance, my market order imbalance before was like a decimal. Like it would be giving you 0.5. Now it turns it into a percentage. So that might kind of screw up your old data. So just keep that one in mind, right? Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, all of the indicators have like a log level now. So if you come into it, like my market order imbalance, that's the one that I've probably done the most work on. Down here under miscellaneous, there's like log levels. So by default, it will show you errors and info. But like some of them, they'll spit out info to you and you don't actually want that in your debug window, right? So then you can change it to only errors. Or none if you don't want them to spit out anything. Or debug if you're having a problem. If you're having a problem in debugging, it'll spit out like way more information than you want. So probably don't turn it to debug, but that's when I'm having problems, I turn it to debug, and I have all these print statements in there and stuff to try and debug things now. And I leave them in there so that if you guys have problems, it's easier for me to figure out what's going on, right? Cool. Another thing that I changed. You know, some of these changes are now kind of getting into like really esoteric stuff that you probably don't care about, right? Like in terms of the indicator, like for things that you guys would care about, new cumulative delta, new resting orders filtered, and you know, like improved caching. Those are the things that you would care about. Anyways, another change that I made here. We come into like our saved files now. Like this one will be probably a good example. Oh no, wait, this is from October, isn't it? Yeah, from October. So this is the old one, and you're like, okay, what do these mean? I don't know. So now, you look at the new ones. It actually prints out the name of the columns. Here's the imbalance, current buys, current sells, running buys, running sells. There's also a new column that allows you to tell whether it's recorded live or not, because the market order imbalance and the cumulative delta, those are ones that you can run on tick replay, right? So what I did was I made it so that the indicator is compatible with tick replay. So you can tell it, I do want it to calculate on tick replay data, or don't calculate it on tick replay data. If you do it that way, then when you don't have tick replay data, it's just, you just don't see any data there, right? But then there's also an option to say, if it was recorded live, it's in color versus the stuff that's not as gray, right? And it saves whether it was recorded live, so that if we do a back test on this, you can go back and you can look and you can know if it was recorded live or not, and you know, determine if, hey, like, is my algorithm taking a lot of signals on the tick replay generated data. Anyways, so there's things like that in there as well. Okay, what's the difference between resting orders and large resting orders? Okay, so this is really, really complicated. Actually, let's answer Amir's question first, okay? What is Alice? So there is something called the Kyle model. And the Kyle model is, I've spoken about many times before. I think you probably remember this part, Amir, right? Where it's basically like there's an informed trader out there in the market, and they know that price is going to be a certain price at this time. So how many orders, how much inventory should I buy? How much should I buy to maximize my profit on that move? Because if I buy too much, then it's going to go past, and then I'll lose on some of it, right? And you can calculate like that optimum amount of contracts. And then you can look at it from the market maker's perspective, and the market maker can say, oh, I have enough of a change in the orders here to suggest that maybe there is an informed trader out there. And so I need to adjust my bid and ask accordingly, right? Well, what Alice is attempting to do is it's attempting to determine what the optimum number of contracts would be. So if you come into the settings here, there is a period and a target. So basically what it's saying is, if my target was 4 ticks, I wanted to, I think that it's going to move up 4 ticks in the next 5 minutes. What would be the optimal number of contracts to buy? And that's what it gives you, right? So it's saying that right now, at 5 minutes, 4 ticks, you have an optimum number of contracts of 8,000. So it's a measure of how much opportunity there is out there. If this is too low, you know, like really, but I would say below 5,000 used to be where I would look at it. But if it's too low, then you don't want to trade. That means there's not enough volatility and activity to trade. So that's what Alice is. Okay, but it's based on the Kyle model. Okay. And the reason we call it Alice is because when they describe things, Alice is the informed trader. Okay, you want to be Alice. Okay, the difference between resting orders and large resting orders. So what the resting orders is doing is it's taking all of the level 2 levels and it's adding them together, right? There is a filter on there so that you can limit it and say, I only want to look at like the first 5 levels or the first 10, but by default, it's like all of the levels, right? And then what's happening is these are constantly changing, right? So what it does is at each level, it says like, what was the maximum amount of liquidity and the minimum amount of liquidity placed at that level, right? And then it adds them together. So when you go into this resting orders data series, looks like our music's stopped here. Start the playlist. So when you look at these resting orders, there's the max bids, max asks, min bids, min asks, right? So that's the max and min that those levels were during that time, right? And then what it does is it takes the maximum of all of those and adds them together. And it takes the minimum of all of those and it adds them together. And the difference is like the difference is the difference between the maximums that they were. So like the maximum that the offers were and the maximum that the bids were and the difference between those. Okay. So basically when you look at the difference, it's basically telling you, are there more bids or are there more offers? Okay. Problem. What if you have an order that's just like moving around? So I could put like 1,000 lots on here and move it through all of the bids, and that would make the bids appear like, you know, because it would boost up the max at every one of those levels, right? And would screw the algorithm up, right? So the second version of it, the filtered version of it, is saying what is the max of them all added together. So basically every time there's a change, we find the sum of them, and then we keep track of that sum and we find the max and min of that sum during the period to kind of filter out that somebody just moving one lot around. Okay. And then, you know, this is the same different stuff. So what I have found with using this indicator, this one is a pretty good, you know, indication of like which way we're going. It kind of changes in regimes, but like if there's more, if these are all down, that means that the bids are stronger and we're probably going to go up, right? But this one, the filtered one, it's kind of telling you like which side are the algorithms messing with. And so when you see it cross this line, it often signifies key inflection points in the market. So do you see how like right here it changed? And that was where Xian kind of had a pullback. So if this were to, you know, like we go out in the future a little bit and this were to go back up like this and flip over, right? I would be looking for something in the market to change. Now, what that change will be, I haven't figured out a way to predict it. Sometimes it's a continuation and sometimes it's a reversal. But when you see that flip, that's like a sign that like something's changing in the market. Okay? So that's the difference between them. Tavia says, I keep taking long, but I still suck for the day. Well, I tell you what, they're doing pretty good so far, right? Like I remember I said, well, I think there's a lot of nuance for this number. Let's see what they do. I also remember saying on the inventory cost basis, they'll probably come back to that cost basis and bounce, right? Ta-da! 1, 2. They did it on this side too. Wow. Wow. Can the spread indicator be used for indices? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. So, I have one on here. I use one. So this is the spread between the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. So it basically tells you, like, are we moving up because the NASDAQ is what's pushing us? So you look at the settings for it here, right? I do 2 ES contracts and 1 NQ contract. So if we're moving up, that means that the ES is doing better compared to the NQ. So, for example, this move, we saw this go down. Why did we see this go down? Because NASDAQ stocks are outperforming relative to S&P 500 stocks. In other words, the market is moving up because they think that liquidity will be easier, right? So, you know, that can kind of give you a good read into why the S&P 500 might be doing what it's doing. Makes sense. Finally downloaded the indicators and they're good. Thank you. I'm working really hard. I you know, I was thinking about it yesterday. I was, you know, because we were talking about it. Like, am I the best NinjaTrader programmer? Maybe I am the best NinjaTrader programmer. On one hand, maybe it doesn't matter because, like, is the programming required for these indicators like that high? I don't really feel like it necessarily is. And what's really going to matter is, like, the ideas that you have, the things that you got. Now, I think that what we have is very advanced compared to the other offerings out there in the NinjaTrader ecosystem. But I digress, you know, like, probably the best one is like, who has the best algorithms? And do I have the best, like, strategy that's ever been built in NinjaTrader? Probably not, you know. But then it's like, if I am the greatest NinjaTrader programmer, or I'm not, what do I have to do to get there? Or, like, what do I have to do to prove it to people? But more and more, I keep finding myself coming back to focusing on the indicators that we have. Like, I think that the indicators that we have is the best edge that I have. And I think that they're very advanced. Some of the other ideas, some of the other things that we've been working on. So like the fund thing, like, let's start a hedge fund and maybe we can get everybody to invest in it and things like that. I'm not sure if that one is as good of an idea. But maybe I'll get more into that in January. But at the moment, I'm kind of thinking of putting that one a little bit more on the back burner. If there's a kind of, like, idea that's been in the background that I kind of been messing with and never really touched, that, you know, we could bring in, it would be more to the AI stuff, right? Like, getting the ChatGPT OI or whatever it is, and being able to talk to the GPT live and or finding a way to like, train my own large language model and have it, you know, like, I'm providing all of the feedback and we just develop this AI over time here on the stream. That's another thing. But the primary, I'm really gung-ho about the indicators right now. Like, I want to make more videos about NinjaTrader. I want to make individual videos for all of the indicators. So I have, like, one big video for the indicators, right? But I want to make, like, a video that's just for the one indicator, right? Otherwise, it's like too much for you, you know. And I also feel like this. So I was watching. Have you guys ever watched the movie Blackberry? Oh man. So there's this movie about the founding of, well, not necessarily the founding, but kind of the beginning of the company that made the BlackBerry. And man, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good movie. And in the movie, basically what happens is you got these nerds, they've built stuff, and they have this idea for a cell phone with a keyboard attached to it. So they basically they invented the idea of the smartphone. And they go and they present it to this guy that's like at a plant manufacturing or something like that. And he tells them, oh, like, we're the wrong people to talk to. You need to talk to venture capital. And then that day, that guy got fired for doing something he shouldn't have done. And so he is like, oh, well, maybe these guys have a good idea. So he goes to them and is like, I want in on your company. Like, I'll give you this amount of money and all of this stuff. Oh man, there's so many good parts in the show. So like, one of the things that happens is they go to lunch to discuss, and that's where the guy, Basali was his name, is like, I will give you $20,000 for 50% of the company or something like that. Like, no, and they dismiss it and whatnot. But then they realize that they're actually screwed and that the guy knows what he's talking about. So they call him back and they get him all amped up. Like, we need to negotiate with this guy. Okay, we'll negotiate how much money he's going to put in the company and like what percentage he gets it and all of this sort of stuff, right? So he gets all amped up to talk to the guy on the phone, and then he says, okay, for 50% of the company, you put in $250,000 or something like that for 50% of the company, and we're co-CEOs. You're not just the CEO. And the guy doesn't negotiate with them or anything. He's just like, okay, and hangs up. That was so funny. But so then this guy is involved in the company, right? And like, basically the first thing that happens is they have these orders that they're selling this modem, and the people aren't paying them for the modem. So they call them, and he finds out that the company's kind of been messing with them, that they never had any intention to buy the modems, and they were just kind of delaying them so that they wouldn't build the phone. And then he finds out that they're not making payroll. So here's this guy. He just bought 50% of a company, and he immediately finds out that the company is bankrupt, and that he has no product, right? Or not that he has no product, but that like all of the stuff that they were selling and they thought the business was based on is not a thing, right? So all of a sudden it is, you build me that phone tomorrow, we're gonna go and sell it, right? And then he goes to the bank to see about payroll, and it turns out that the owner was really not paying attention and that they were already in the negative, right? So the guy mortgages his house like right then and there, and they build that phone in a night. It's just absolutely insane story. And at one point in the story, the guy says something, and it's something that we talk about here all the time, but like when he says it in that movie, it hits so hard that like to do well in business, you have to sacrifice things, and the more you're willing to sacrifice, the better you'll do. Basically, this guy understood that you had to take on risk. Yeah, you have to take on risk, and he just went balls deep right away without thinking about it. Like, can you imagine? It's like your first day working with this new company you know nothing about, and mortgaging your house for it just like that. He was all in, man. And I think about what I'm doing, and it's like, well, or I'm just trying to take advantage of the little bit extra time that I have now, because I'm between jobs. But I mean, there's some risk to it, but I'm not mortgaging my house or anything. Another thing that stuck out to me in that show was the speed. That it was like, oh, this other company has been working on our phone for a year. You guys got to put it together today. And they put it together that day, and they did it. And like the time to market was a big issue. And a part of what screwed them over in the end was that Apple was coming out with their big thing, and they were competing with Apple, and they rushed to get out before Apple, and then the product that they put out sucked. But the speed is a thing, and I'm sitting here like, wow, I've had this incredibly valuable stuff, and we just kind of been like chilling here with it, right? For years. And I still have like this crazy advantage in this space. That's really wild to me. It's really wild to me. But it's also kind of like really makes me like, oh, gotta go faster, gotta work harder, gotta do more stuff, right? I think the next thing that we do here, once we get this release out, so I don't know. So we'll see, Gus and Amir, you try it next week, and if there's not any, you don't find any issues, then we can make that one the public version next week. I think I like to give it like a week of you guys using it and make sure that we don't have any issues. I did have one guy on Discord who was using the Discord the indicators, and he was having an issue, but I don't know how. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he's doing it. I can't duplicate his issue. I'll have to debug that one a little bit. And then I think that we got to get to work on affiliate program and making individual videos about it. And making NinjaTrader videos. By the way, good morning, King Max. Playing with it now. Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, so that's the other. So did I talk about? I think I talked about this yesterday, but I'm gonna go into it again. I had this epiphany the other day when I was looking at like other YouTube channels. I was like, okay, who else is using NinjaTrader? Can we like maybe work with? I sent some emails out. I don't think I gotten any responses, so I don't know if I actually got their emails and actually got in contact with them. Maybe I should try Discords. But as I was going through it, I was kind of realizing like, oh, other people can't write indicators. And when you can't write indicators, that's a cost to you, right? So I kind of understand that is like maybe part of the allure of price action trading, is that you don't have to buy any fancy indicators or do any more fancy analysis. You just put up a naked chart and trade how you feel like, I guess. I don't know. They do have setups and everything, but it's all very, very vague the way that price action is traded, right? It means something different to everybody. But part of the allure to it is there's no indicators. You don't have to pay for any of that stuff, right? Which is funny because, like if you're looking at support and resistance, for instance, you come up to a previous resistance zone. The order flow can give you a really good idea of if we're really still range bound or not, right? Because if we came up to the top of that range because you're starting to see a large meta order, then we're going to blow through that, right? Yeah, price action sentiment is basically minimalism. DOM only traders are similar. Yeah, so for DOM traders, the software that you buy to trade the DOM is usually, well, I guess maybe if you do Sierra charts, it's okay, but yeah. It's definitely more expensive than a chart only trader, right? It's like this, I don't need anything but this, and people seem to take pride in that. Exactly. It's exactly that. But here's the other side of it, is it has a strange consequence on the content creators in that space. Because look, I know the thing is that, you know, if you're really that great of a trader, you should be making money just from the trading, and the content creation side of it is kind of ancillary. Sure. But if you want people to make good content, there has to be an incentive for them to make good content, right? So it is to our advantage for content creators to have ways to make money, to make it worth them to make good content. And, you know, there are some creators in this space that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. We're super, super tiny, and is generally a good thing. I don't think that the people that have gotten to that place where they're like, they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, they usually do it by clickbaiting you and making a bunch of trash. That's unfortunate. I would like to get there so that we can have more quality content up at the top, okay? But still, it's a good thing for them to be able to make money. But how are they going to make money? So there's the ads from YouTube, which for most content creators isn't going to be a whole very much, right? Well, I sell an indicator package that I think is a really powerful package and is a really, really good deal. But I'm a programmer. Most people aren't programmers, so they can't sell an indicator package. What are they going to do? And that leaves them with two choices, two options, essentially. One is sell a course, and one is funded trader programs, affiliate links for funded trader programs. And that's the only other ways that they have to make money. And so like now I'm seeing it. I'm like, oh, the consequence of the price action is that the content creator is driven to push funded trader programs and or their education course. I don't know if education courses do that well, unless you're like at the biggest guys. So that was what got me thinking, because before I was like, should we do affiliate links? Well, I feel like that nobody will be able to sell it like me. So really, I should just, you know, I should just not worry about it. And I got to get better at getting the message out and explaining to people how it works and the value of it and all of that, right? But then I went through all of that, and I'm like, yeah, but what if instead of making $15 a pop for these trash funded trader programs, you could make $100 a sale on something that's because it's like $150, right? For a combine, I always want to call them combines. It's like $150 for a funded trader program, right? For a trader evaluation. And I want to make my indicator package $200, right? So the ask that you're asking for the customer is not that much more, but you're making like a 50% commission on it. That, like, as a creator, that's a no-brainer, man. It's a no-brainer. You think they'll go for it? I don't. We'll see. Okay, let's see. I sent you an image of the indicator that we're developing. Okay, let me see. Ah. Yeah, and you do think that you're seeing an edge in it? It's interesting. Gus was saying he has these things, and they're using that to kind of determine which side is stronger and stuff. And is it using the level 2 to determine those things? Oh, you have it on 1 tick data. That's okay. That's really, really wild, though. That's really, really wild that your indicator changes that much on a 1 tick basis. Oh, I'd have to see what you're using to calculate that. But I guess the bigger thing would be you'd have to backtest it. Now, the thing is that because I have a base class, we should be able to get your indicator to also cache so that we could then backtest it at some point, right? But I don't know if with the way that it gets packaged, if you have the access to inherit from it or not. So maybe we would have to do a share session and you see if you can see it or not, essentially. Like you should be able to see the indicator. So like, yeah. So like if I come into the indicators here and I go into my speculator Seth folder. Oh, I changed it so that it doesn't show up. That's right. I forgot that I was able to figure that out too. Oh man. So you can't even see it in there. I suspect that if you go in and you do SPS hashed base, that it would probably let you do it. But oh, that's right. You had done your own backtest on it. But that data wasn't level 2 data. Or did you have the level 2 data too? Man. Like the thing is you can get historical market depth data, but it's insane. And I don't know how accurate that it actually would be. So like there's two problems with it. One is you don't know how accurate their level 2 data would be is the one side. But then the second side of it is that the way that you would receive the level 2 data is likely to be different, right? Because your data broker will like filter out certain changes. They might return them to you in slightly different order. They might match up against the market orders slightly differently. And that could all be like different per person. Like I might receive a level 2 update different time from you just because of like lag and stuff. And when we're talking about like 200 milliseconds, maybe it makes a difference, right? So I would still want to like record. But then the other question is like, so have you been running it live? Have you been running it? You've been forward testing it and having success with it on forward testing, or is this still kind of like? Because I remember you had one earlier, and like it didn't quite do what you wanted. So you're just trying it out now. So no conclusions yet, I guess is what you're saying. So I'm a little scared about that you're running it on a 1 tick chart. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can be competitive on that time frame, right? Oh man, we're really pushing up here to a new high now, huh? 19.5. Where did I say that moving average line was? 21.5. Actually, let me, which one was it? 200-day moving average, is it? Yeah. I think I have that as tight as I can make it. Oh, maybe not. There we go. Okay, so we do have Bowman speaking, who I think a while ago had a dissenting vote. So I think they're talking about that. That might be important. The other thing I should do is I should just have that simple algorithm that I wrote on market order imbalance. I should just have that running all the time. Gosh, that gets me thinking. So there's like so here's a couple of other things that are on my mind. One is there is a new version of NinjaTrader coming out in like a week or two. And it includes a bunch of really, I don't know how to describe them. They're new features for their order flow stuff. They're pretty cool features. They're features that are cool. I don't know if they really help, but they're really cool features. But then another thing is that they upgrade to C#9. So like I would like to get to the new version of NinjaTrader, but I've been using the version that I have because like of the data and all of that. So what I could do is I could start getting the kinetic data. I think that the kinetic data is like $30 to $50 a month because I still have to pay the exchange fees for it. Like they give it to me for like they're not charging me for it, but I still have to pay the exchange fee. So I think I can get it for like $30, which is kind of like, yeah, but then if I was gonna do that, wouldn't it be better for me to just get the more expensive rhythmic data? So I'm a little bit torn on that. But if our primary thing right now is NinjaTrader, maybe I need to invest in that direction. And then I could be using the most up-to-date version of NinjaTrader. There are actually a couple of things that I think I can add into the suite now. Because there's some things that like I have indicators that work, but like I have an additional library that I had to include into it to make it work. And like with the newer version, I might be able to not have to do that in a way that I could give you guys the indicator. Because it's kind of an issue of like, oh, well, yeah, the indicator works, but only if you have this library installed. Things like that. So. And there was another thing on my mind that I was thinking about. There's some interesting flow coming through here at 20. There was a really big bid there at 19.5. Then it looks like that there was an iceberg at 20. That got filled, and then the iceberg the big order at 19.5 that was following them up disappeared. You can see over here the increased activity in the large orders. So something is happening. We might be seeing an inflection point here. Bowman says core inflation is uncomfortably above the Fed target. That's interesting. I mean, I think that we should be getting a rate cut. Actually, let's come and look. I was trying to remember the other thing that I wanted to talk about, but I don't remember anymore. So let's come over to Zero Hedge and see if they've got any information about like did the rate cut expectations change? Oh, was Roaring Kitty starting a frenzy in AMC again? See, how am I missing this stuff? AMC files at the money offering. Good grief. Good grief. After the October hurricane-driven debacle, which sent last month's payroll print to the lowest in years at just 12K, traders were expecting a solid bounce today, with many whispering a print that would come in above the consensus estimate of 220. And they were right. Moments ago, the BLS reported that November payrolls surged to 227, second highest print since March. Unlike the previous month, most of which had all seen downward revisions, the previous 2 months were revised higher. September was revised up by 32,000 from 223 to 255, and the change for October was revised up by 24,000 from 12,000 to 36,000. With these revisions, employment in September and October combined is 56,000 higher than previous reported. You know what? Like, that does not help, because it's like all of the revisions and everything were always super suspect, and then as soon as Donald Trump is elected president, everything goes back to normal. Like the payrolls comes in close to the consensus, and okay, and maybe it's just a coincidence, and it wouldn't be too hard of a coincidence to have had happen, but that doesn't help if you're trying to explain it and you think that you're trying to disprove conspiracy theorists or anything like that. Like, it's just not. Rebound reflects swings related to the end of the Boeing strike and the hurricanes that skewed the October data. Hiring was led by healthcare and social assistance, as well as leisure and hospitality and government. Those looking for a clear indication whether the Fed will keep cutting or halt its easing cycle in 2 weeks will have to wait, because the rest of the jobs report was mixed. On one hand, unemployment rose from 4.1% to 4.2%, which was above the estimate. But hourly earnings also rose, rising spot 4% month over month, above the spot 3 estimate, with annual wage growth flat at 4%, above the 3.9% estimate, both indicating that wage growth pressures remain. We should note that while the establishment report gain of 227K payrolls was solid, this household survey indicated a much bigger weakness, with the number of people employed tumbling 355K. Oh, wait, let me read that again. The household survey indicated a much bigger weakness, with the number of people employed tumbling by 355,000 to 161 million. Okay. Tied to that, both the full-time and part-time series showed a notable drop, with full-time jobs dropping by 111K and part-time jobs down by 268K. The number of long-term unemployed was little changed at 1.7 million in November. The labor force participation rate at 62.5%, little changed. Illegal immigrant workers tumbles. Okay, but I don't get anything to say whether rate cut expectations changed, unfortunately. Is this another friend request? I finally went through on Discord and like cleared out all of the friend requests. But seriously though, guys, don't add me as a friend on Discord. Like, it's you don't really gonna help you to like know when I'm online or not online. I'm always online. and you can message me without being friends. And I don't really see them, so don't bother adding me as a friend on Discord. We're already friends, you just have to message me. Gosh, I'm still stuck on, like, there was another thought I had that I was going to go into. You going to buy the VWAP? Or is that VWAP? I mean, the issue is that we got the Michigan sentiment numbers at the top of the hour. I'm seeing a little bit of something developing in the Japanese yen. So, like, while the treasuries are up here, the move in the dollar index completely retraced. So I think that means that we need to have a little bit of caution here. A little bit of caution here. I don't know if I want to just take the knee-jerk, key level bounce sort of a trade. Especially since it already bounced off of our level twice. Actually, so here's another great, like, okay. Let me make it big enough for you guys here. So after the news, it was, curiously enough, the market makers seemed to be taking on buy inventory. And that ended up being the right call because more buying came through and then they took profits. Well, the model shows at least that they took profits because the buy inventory came down significantly. And on this move up here in particular, the market makers, the model suggests that the market makers took on a lot of sell side inventory. So that might mean that we come back to a VWAP or something like that. Could we see, a rebalancing to like there? Maybe. But here's where we have news. So, and that news is a relatively major piece. It's not, obviously not as big as non-farms, but it's still one that the market probably pulls liquidity for and everything. So, yeah, I don't like the setup. And the other thing is if it is the market maker in charge, it could just do weird things. I don't know. I think I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit there because with the way that I described it, it probably is a sell, right? But my expectations of the flows does not suggest there's a good trade here. Oh, you know what? I think I know what it was that I was kind of like, was thinking about. So like, okay, so there's a new version of Ninja Trader coming out, and there's some things in it that are interesting to me. But then there's some features that I really wish Ninja Trader had that are some like really, really major features. And so one of them is, I wish that Ninja Trader had the ability to run a strategy against a whole list of instruments. Like, there's already instrument lists that you can use in like the market analyzer and things like that, right? But there should be a way to run your strategy against that whole list so that you can do multi-instrument portfolio type strategies. That would be cool. That one I don't think would be too big of a lift though, right? Cool. And then the other one is I need a way to be able to see the performance of the strategy without it taking the trade. So like as it stands right now, you can have it come in and you can say, you can look at the stats. Like there's a little object in there that you can like look at the stats of your strategy and stuff, right? But if you do something like you look at the stats and you stop trading, then isn't that going to affect the stats, right? So I have to see, if I wasn't doing any intervention, what would the theoretical performance of it be? And then when the theoretical performance of it looks good, then I tell it to actually do it, right? How do you do that? I'm not quite sure how you do that. It have to be something like you have like one strategy that is like just the pure thing, and it's running that on sim or whatever it is. And then you have another strategy that looks at that strategy, and when it's doing good, then it gets in or not. I don't know how you sort that. Basically, you need the ability for a strategy to run the strategy analyzer on another strategy. So this is a feature that NinjaTrader needs to add. And then I don't know, some I need to come up with some ideas about some simple, well, maybe not simple, but you know, some videos to make about NinjaTrader for newer people. I got a really good, like, you know, that tips and tricks video. I think that's a really good video, but probably I should make one that's more for somebody that's like never opened the platform before, right? Maybe some more NinjaTrader programming videos too. Let's see here. I do it by giving the same strategy, no target and no stops, and let it close on a set time and then compare the two. Because I don't understand. My wife just came in and gave me the baby. So the larger idea here is like you have like 6 different algorithms, and these different algorithms are optimized to work in different market conditions. And then you look at the performance of those algorithms to decide which one you want to trade right now. And you use machine learning to sort them out. So in order to do that, you have to have like a running, so basically you have to have, here's all of the sub strategies that it's running, right? And then my indicator, my strategy is looking at this and deciding which one to trade based on that. And then I get the performance of that. So basically, you have to have like a sub run for it, basically. So like the hard way to do it would be to like make your own strategy analyzer within it, right? Or actually, you know, here's how you could do it. Here's how NinjaTrader could do it. NinjaTrader could do it. Oh, maybe you do have access to it. No, I don't think you can. Basically, the way that you could do it is you could give a strategy access to multiple accounts, right? So you tell it, okay, run this strategy on this account, and I can go and I can see all of the performance and everything on this account. And then if it's looking good, then I also submit it on this main account. That's what it needs. That's what it needs. Okay, let's see if there's a way to sort that, maybe. NinjaTrader does not support trading 2 accounts in the same strategy instance. So those would be some features that I would like to have. And those would be some features that I would add into my own platform. Right? Oh, do I have that written down? No, not that one. We really seriously should make our own platform, because I have enough of features here that would, I think, be pretty major features to draw. Like, as certainly the algo trading crowd would want to use my platform. Not that NinjaTrader is a bad platform. It's the best that we got, but I think I can do better. Maybe they should hire me and take me off the market. So. So that's where I get back to this thing. Like, when I was watching that movie, it was like, okay, it's like, I have this idea for a platform. I think it's a good idea for a platform, but like, I guess the problem is maybe competitors beat me to it. So I need to, like, not be waiting and be building it right now, right? Saint Ali, how are you doing this morning? So, by the way, remember earlier I was saying, like, are we about to get, like, a shift? Because I thought that maybe the resting orders filtered was about to cross, but it did not, in fact. So. Oh boy, CoffeeZilla made a video about the Hawktua girls shitcoin. Wow, that's great stuff. Oh man, I saw this video the other day. I forget what the puns were, but they made so many Hawktua puns. I thought it was hilarious. Okay, so here's a question. Ooh, actually, I can do it. You know what we're gonna do? You know what we're gonna do, guys? I'm going to make... Where's my list? Where's my list? No, that's not that one. There we go. Let's see if we can get rid of that. We already did that. This right here, I'm gonna down. So I think that I can, like a fair value gap indicator is really easy to create, but I think that I can create a fair value gap indicator that has an additional feature that people would probably find interesting. Not that I think that there's anything to the fair value gap, but I can make it, so why not? I'm gonna have to find a way to like categorize my indicators better or something. I don't know. I can at least categorize them within the documentation, even if I'm not doing it in NinjaTrader. I almost forgot that it's Friday. We have some news in about 3 minutes, by the way. I guess I need to go snowboarding again tomorrow. Wow, what's this? The guy that wrote the book on JavaScript is struggling to find a job? Wow. Oh, this guy hasn't put in too many applications though. Build out your side projects a little bit more. Cointelegraph reports Coinbase users report account restrictions and inaccessible funds fueling concerns over customer service and security as legal scrutiny mounts. Wow, murdered insurance CEO had deployed an AI to automatically deny benefits? Igor? Wow. I'm not paying enough attention to this story. I'm really, like, this is really turning into a big deal, and I just, like, I don't find myself interested in reading it because I just know what like everybody's gonna say about it. It's just like a mess. Oh yeah, so we were just getting the numbers, huh? I didn't really get a pulse, so I wasn't paying attention. It's like, why is the news squawk saying stuff? Okay, so 1 year inflation expectations preliminary 2.9 versus an expected 2.7. That's not good. And the 5-year was in line at 3.1. So the treasury's moved down like 3 ticks off of that. Okay. Well, now I have to come up with a new excuse to not take a trade today, and I think that my excuse now is it's too late in the day, right? I think that if there was a good setup, it would probably be a buy off of a bounce somewhere, but well, maybe if it came up to 12.5, I could. And except for that, there's view out there at 14.5. That's interesting. Well, it seems to be recovering perhaps that little downturn, so I don't know if we're gonna get there. Tesla says the Cybertruck will hold 70% of its value after being driven for 3 years. Oh boy. That might actually be true because it just seems like people want them, even though they're a terrible vehicle. I see more and more of them every day, and when I see them, I'm just like, why are people so dumb? Wow, really? Americans think 26% of households make over $500,000 a year when the number is actually 1%. Also, I was thinking there is like, okay, like the decent number of people, like I think 10 to 20% that make over 100,000. When you get into over 500,000, it's like insane. There's a very, very few people that make that much. My wife's sister thinks we make that much money. Good grief, dude. Really anything over 200,000 is like, that's a lot. Because I think the thing that people don't realize, okay, so like, this is where I think this comes from. Say you make $50,000, right? And you've got like everything. Let's say you're living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, so like you make $50,000, but you're comfortable. Like you pay for all of your expenses every month, and whatever, you know. Maybe you have like your one hobby and you spend a little bit of money on that every year. Okay. So then you get a promotion and you go to $100,000. So you're making twice as much now. Okay. And so the average person thinks, oh, okay, so I'm making twice as much. So now I should be able to have like twice as good of an everything. Right. But the reality is actually like that $50,000 extra that you get a year is like exponentially more valuable to you, because you're already paying for all of your expenses. So that 50K basically can be spent on whatever you want, and it can be spent on investing it and just making more money from that, right? So you've kind of got like this upper middle class where that I would say is kind of like around 120,000 right now, right? And then you go up, you're like, oh, okay, well, like we do okay, but we're not doing nearly as well as those people up there on the hill. And so you think those people up there on the hill, their house is like twice as big, so they must be making like, you know, several times more money than me. They must be making $500,000 a year. But the reality is actually no. They're only making like $180,000 a year or $200,000 a year, because, you know, that extra money is just, it's cash. They can do whatever they want with it. So like, or another way of putting it is like, you get a promotion, and that promotion is like a 10% increase in pay. That 10% increase in pay can be like double or triple the amount of discretionary income for you every month, right? Like the amount of money that you had left over that wasn't being used by expenses, that can be like 3 times more than that now. What can you do with that? You could put it into a bigger house, for instance. So I think that that's kind of where that comes from. That, and there's a lot of kids that just have no clue. I tell my kids numbers because I want them to know I want them to have bearings. Like, okay, this is how much, like especially career numbers. So I don't think that they realize, like, okay, this is how much I make. Most people don't make as much as I do. But the vast, you know, like I'm maybe top 5% or something like that. maybe 10%. And not only surviving, but still investing. People who aren't very good with money have no idea, so their perception of your money is just staggeringly wrong. Well, yes. Well, and so another place where that might have an issue is like, there are some people, like, let's say somebody out there that's making $100,000 a year, and that's pretty good, right? But they're not investing any of it. Okay, like if you're not investing any of it, you're double income, no kids, like that could be a difference of $1,000 or $2,000 a month. Like, what can you do with $1,000 or $2,000 a month extra, right? So there's these people out there that they're buying all this stuff, and you're thinking that they're doing really, really well, but the reality is that they're not saving the way that they should. And then what happens is they get into their, when they get to retire, they can't do anything, and you're like flush with cash because you saved everything. At least that's what I'm noticing is happening amongst a lot of baby boomers. My parents saved really heavy. Like, the amount of money that they saved is staggering to me. And but they can't just do whatever they want. They still have to be careful with it, because, you know, it's got to last them a while. It's got to last you a while. I can just see it coming the day where they get put in the hospital, and like it just eats up all of that. It's gonna be I'm gonna be very unhappy when it happens, but I know what's coming. I put my life savings into Haktua. What is wrong with people? Now you just got me thinking again, Uzi, about like, okay, what would be a non-trading business that I can start? It's really weird for me to think about, because so much of the stuff that I watched like one video, and then the YouTube algorithms picks up on it, and that's like, well, okay, I should learn about that, so we do. So I'm learning all this stuff about venture capital and so forth. I've watched a lot of Y Combinator videos. And like the discussion from them is always like, for people that don't have a product yet, that you know just have an idea essentially. Whereas for my business, like, I already have a product, already have like a decent user base, and all, like, I'm actually in like an amazing position compared to a lot of businesses. I just have to figure out how to market it and get the word out about it. Really my problem. And it's just like, anyways, but then I'm like, I should also do a business that's not finance. But what would it be? I should do what Uzi does, except for like really focus on super rich people. that like have houses that like nobody lives in most of the year, that are just for just for ski season or whatever. That's what I'd like. Yeah, I think that would be a good gig. You know what irks? Okay, so here's something that really irks me right now. Is I'm sitting here like, okay, like we have some time to go and solve some people's problems. So let's go and find problems that people have. We go and solve, we can make money from them, right? And like the way that I would do these sorts of things, before is, you just go and talk to people. And what has happened is that since the pandemic, that whole ecosystem that I would tap into to get access to different groups of people and figure out what they need and everything is not there. So it's like if I want to go and, I like the people in my neighborhood, they're pretty well to do, right? But if I want to go and get those like 1%ers, like the people that make over $500,000 a year, I don't, maybe a couple of years ago, there's a few places where I might have been able to find a few of them, but now it's like, I don't even know if they ever leave their house. Like, market fancy water to rich folk. You know what? There's a person in my area that they sell water filtration, and it's a pretty expensive water filtration system, but they make pretty good money from it. They do. Probably not as consistent of an income, but I bet you that on a year basis they make more than me. My guess. Yeah, maybe next time I see him I'll have to ask. Actually, next time I see them I'll have to ask about marketing tips, I guess, because gotta market, gotta do the marketing, folks. So I'm thinking, if I make an indicator that's like a better fair value gap, how do I market that? Because then it's going to be like, yeah, except for that you don't use that and you don't think that it's worth anything, so why would I get it? Well, I don't, but like most of you do. Most of you do. You know what would be a business to be in is making cell phones. I was watching that show the other day, and I was like thinking about it. It was like, okay, this is just like this tiny little company, but like the business that they're going into is the biggest business there is. Everybody has a cell phone now. 7 Belgian non-trading business. You mean like a charity org? Nah, you know what? Like I could do a charity organization, but I have a couple more steps, I think, of things that I want to shore up before I would be doing like a charity organization. Yeah. So what you can do with a charity organization is like you put a certain amount of money into the charity organization, and then you can hire your kids to run it. So the kids are actually making income from the charity, and then the charity can save all of its investments, or can invest all of its money. So you're actually making like a 7% per year return on your money or something like that, right? And then you have to expend something like 2% of it. You have to spend like 2% a year on charity, for which you can use for like connections and things, and doing good things in the community. I mean, like it benefits everybody. But then the money continues to grow, and so it actually kind of becomes like a tax haven. Is that what you're talking about? It's like, yeah, I could do that, but I've got some other wads and buckets I want to fill up first before I would be doing something like that. Rerd says when you offer it too cheap, then it is considered to have no value, so the pricing is very important. Maybe. Well, so it's really interesting to me. Like, doing some of the market research, because $100 is cheap. $100 is cheap. But I'm not seeing very many people offering suites that are like more than $500. So like the thing that I'm seeing in the market is that the price that people are charging for it does not seem to correlate with the how advanced the indicator is, or how many indicators are in it, or anything like that. So I think that the price of NinjaTrader indicators comes down more to the cost of running the business than it does the quality or volume of the indicators involved, right? Which is why I want to increase the price to $200. And at some point, I think I would probably increase it to $300. With my thinking being that I need that money to do the marketing side of it. Like there's enough of business expenses now that I do need it to be $200. So $200. And like I said, like again, I'm so for you guys in here, because I really think well, at first I was like, well, yeah, let's just do like I'll set up an affiliate program sort of a thing with a few select YouTubers or something like that, and all of these things. But then it's like, well, but in order for me to pay them and do all of that kind of a system and everything, I would have a full system. So I might as well just make it available to everybody, right? So think about that. For you guys that are here, like maybe you don't own the indicator suite and you're sitting here thinking like, oh, I don't know if I'm $200. All you got to do is get 2 other people to buy it, and then you get it for free, essentially, right? Because I'm paying 50% commission on it. That's insane. When you think about it, that's like an insane commitment. Maybe I shouldn't be paying as nice of a commission, but because of the unique position that I'm in, I can do that. So I'm going to do it. Yeah, it's all about marketing. Pellegrino water is an example. People pay more for it than any other water. Is it? I've never heard of that water before. But no, my idea for a non-trading business was like a laundromat. Like I still want to do that. There was a place where I was like, well, you could do a laundromat there. I don't know if it'd be very good, but you could do it there. I want like a laundromat. So what I need to find is like, okay, you've got like the really rich part of town, right? You know, and usually just outside the really rich part of town, there's like the little gejito that like all of the workers live at. So like what I need is a laundromat just on the edge of that rich part of town where there's some sort of an apartment complex or something like that. So there are like renters that don't have their own washer and dryer in their units, which I don't know, in Utah usually they have their own washer and dryer in the unit, but you know, a place where so people would use the laundromat, right? And enough people that sustains the laundromat itself. Because I'm thinking like, hey, if the laundromat breaks even, that's fine. My understanding is laundromats work really well as a business though. Okay, then on top of that, I have a laundry service where we'll come to your house and pick the laundry up, wash it, fold it for you, and bring it back. Yeah. And so then all of the rich people in the neighborhood who don't want to do their own laundry are using your laundry service. Yeah, you have to find a spot that needs one but doesn't have one. And that's sort of the thing, is like there's probably, I don't know. I need to go driving around and find a spot. I need to go over here like need to go like this area right here. This ish area. So I live up in here. I live in Centerville. But this ish area around here is like really rich. Some of these houses, when I get up into here, I'm like, there's no way that there's that many people that are making that much money a year to be able to live up here. It must be family money and things like that. Because, man, some of those are insane. It sounds like HelloFresh, but for laundry. Yes. And it's like not even necessarily an uncommon service either. I only know of one service like that in my area, though. But you're right, like finding the spot. So there was a place that was open over here, and it was like, well, I think that the building would support a laundromat, but I don't think that there's really a lot of people around in the area that need a laundromat, right? Like it has to be next to some apartments. Like we need to change the layers to satellite. Okay. And now we need to find apartments. These are townhomes, probably. I wonder, is there a place? Let's go to Zillow. You had to walk the dog. We could totally do that. We should just do that. You know what? There was some neighbor kids, and they were doing a walk the dog service. And I think they did it once. Actually, you know, oh, my wife is awake, so she's out traveling. I'm going to ask her about that. Was it like they gave up on it, or are we just not paying for it anymore? They're still doing it, and we're just not our dogs? Search for existing laundromats and then make a better one in that location. So is there a way in Zillow to be like, let's just say by home type, do they have a commercial real estate? Zillow for commercial real estate. Okay. LoopNet or CoStar. LoopNet. Commercial real estate. Selling these. Oh, she's already responding. What do you do, by the way, if you have a really big dog that needs to be taken for a walk every day and it's like a really cold climate? You just go for the walk in the below freezing weather? Is how many people actually do that? 'Cause I don't think I see a lot of people walking dogs, but not in the winter. Dogs are fine. Yeah, that's true. I'm just thinking about like, okay, so if it's a walk the dog service and you're going to do it in the cold weather, I think that you could probably, I don't know if it would be a good business for me because it would be like a really big time investment. But I think that like the kids, for instance, I think that walking the, or my wife, frankly, I think that my wife would love having, you know what, like anything that is like an animal business is really what we got to do for my wife, because she just loves the animals. We have too many animals. Have make like a dog, what do you call it? Hotel, for instance. I actually was looking really seriously at the dog hotel thing, and then I saw something about like what's involved in a business like that, and I was like, I don't know if that's for us. Yeah, dog daycare. Let's see here if I can get this to like show me a map. Area. Boundary. Okay. Corner building. That's probably too nice for a laundromat. Okay. I'm digging it. What is 14 SF? No, I don't think it stands for San Francisco. Dollars per SF per year. The annual rental rate per square foot. Oh, I see. So they're showing you, because there's a certain amount of space. It's 1,250. So then the rent is, the monthly rent is 1,250 times 14. $17,000 a month. It's probably, I think that 1,200 square feet is probably too big. Laundromat usually requires between 1,000 and 5,000, with most falling between 2,000 and 5,000. So it is the right size. Okay, where is it? Let's find it. Oh, it just shows me right there. That's it. That's all I got. No, that can't be right. That's too far north. Wait, is it? This is North Salt Lake. It must be picking it up wrong. Oh, that's that. $350 North Salt Lake. So it's like right there. There's some townhomes. Buy commercial properties and rent them to suckers. Ah, there you go. Wait, what was this that Rude wrote? At some stage, I have 10 fellow students employed, and we offered monthly subscription. When the weather is bad, you get more requests for service. Oh, really? Oh, really? That's interesting. And then you pay the kids. I don't know, with that one kind of, so that's interesting though that they had 10 students employed. So how does the, you know, like what were the students making and what was the business making and all that, you know? Something with a subscription is good, the idea though. So for our trading business, you know, at the beginning I was thought that it would be better to do a subscription because you have a cheap and people would rather do the cheap subscription. But I have found that to not be the case, that people would rather just buy the whole thing up front. But, you know, from a business perspective, it does make sense to have subscription services. So how would you do that? But I think that the way that we do it is that at some point, we're also serving the data. Like we're, you know, I'm making indicators that save market depth information. I'm saving it over here. At some point, I think that I'm collecting all of this information and saving it, like all of it, and have like a huge database over here. And then people can pay me to get the historical data. And then that can be a subscription service, right? Like it really, when you think about it, it's like our business can just continue to expand, right? Because so get indicators, and then at some point maybe we have our own platform and we're serving our own data, and then maybe you have your own brokerage, and right, just keeps going. And then have funds, maybe at some point to have funds. Well, they sure died when they came back down there at 15, huh? That was a VWAP. They didn't quite make it to the cost basis. So it might kind of have to chill there for a long time to rebalance out. Yeah, exactly. You have to work together to collect this data. When you change the setting, the data collection starts again. So we must have a range of settings for which we collect this data. So yes and no. So because we're also collecting the raw data, so I can have things on the back end that you tell it which settings you want, and it would then do all of the calculations and send it over to you. Some of these, though, I kind of wonder if you just get the, there's a set of settings that pretty much everybody will just settle on using. Okay, that would be a service idea. Yeah. See, we can just keep expanding. All we gotta do, man, is take full advantage of the business that we've already built. It should be the easiest thing in the world. From everything, like, that's the wild thing to me. From everything that I've learned about this so far, I've already done the hardest parts. And now all I gotta do is just learn to sell it. And I think that one of the problems has always been, particularly in the trading space, is selling and trading, and you're selling something that there's substantial risk of loss, and most people don't make it. And, like, futures trading isn't really good for most people, right? But we're not convincing anybody to go into trading. For the people that are already there, I really feel like that this is like the best set of analysis tools you can get. So, like, we're selling a really strong product. I was able to bootstrap it, right? And so that's how I'm able to do all this crazy stuff, like offer 50% commissions on it. Maybe I have a document somewhere about the different options for that, and I decided to not pull the trigger on it. I need to go back and look. Is there a tool that will help me determine how, like, neighborhood demographics? Yeah, child is awake. That'll be okay for 15 minutes. Oh yeah, that's what I was supposed to do to pull up here. Where did I? Do I still have it over here? Close the maps. I guess I close the maps, or I use the same tab. There's way more than last time I searched for this. Loads of fun laundromat, huh? Huh. Well, I know where that is. I've never noticed that store, though. Car wash is another one, but there was a time when that car wash would have been a good play, but I think somebody's already taken that one. See, the place that I was looking at, they have one. They already have two close to it. So I need to buy there. I need to buy theirs. BizBuySell.com. Find a business. All industries. Search. Sure. Isn't there a no, that's not right. Stuffed animal business for sale? What? That would be an interesting business to run. Factory relationships included. Oh, I'm kind of interested now. I'm actually gonna open that one. Day spa. Let's see if I can find just like within my city. No. I guess I want that. Elegant imported rain gutters. Turnkey appliance outlet for sale. There was a really good appliance location in the local area that just like all of a sudden went out of business and like a lot of people got screwed. So I don't know what's going on in that industry, but I don't know if that's a good one to go into right now. Wedding planning, of course, yeah, there's lots of money for that in Utah. I thought there was a way to search like laundromats. Laundromats and Queen Laundry. Hey, none here. Okay, so here's another question then. All locations. Okay, cool. So like I could buy a laundromat in another state. Would that work? Does that work? I don't know if I want to own a laundromat in Brooklyn. Like, I think that I'd have to live there. Can you imagine moving somewhere so you could run a laundromat? Oh, that'd be crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's not a good. Maybe it's not a good idea because I think that in like most places in Utah, like most people have their own washer and dryer. I think there's very few, only like your cheapest apartments that don't have a laundromat. Okay, they're coming down the stairs now. See if he's gonna come knocking on the door here. That's okay. It's time for us to get going anyways. I like the dog walking business, but again, that's one that's like you know, for the kids. I don't know. I guess it could work. That one's about as good of an idea as a snow cone stand though. This is the oh, it doesn't look like they actually sell. It's like they have all of this stuff. I like what they got there though. I like what they got there though. And what do they want? They want 100,000. I think I can get that. You'd have to do a bunch of math to see if it's actually worth buying it for that much, but I have a business idea that I'm using for a course. What do you mean by you're using for a course? You know, I was talking to somebody that made a book, and he was joking that like people always say, "Oh, so you're an author? You must like really make a lot of money from the books and stuff." And he was saying that actually you don't, unless you're like really break out, you don't make that much money from books. And I was surprised at how inconsequential it was to him, at least. I would like to make a book at some point. I think that the book would be an expensive book. Maybe it would be like a course, but like a really big book. I wouldn't sell it as a course. I would sell it as a book. I am following a business course in my degree. The idea that you analyze sports teams, trainings, and or matches to improve their... Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that'd be totally something that I could do. Okay, one of the problems that I have is that my skills are I have very high level of technical competency, and there is a wide range of industries that can use my expertise. But it's kind of like, but I haven't used it in that area, right? Like if I had used data science to analyze teams and to improve team performance, right? Like I have all of the skills to do that, but I've never done it. So why would anybody buy it from me, right? Different with this one. I guess this is the one that I've invested the time into, and it's just an interesting thing to think about. But I guess that the bigger, like the thing that I'm realizing today, and the reason why we keep talking about this, is that I'm realizing, like, I've always had this mindset that I should be an entrepreneur, but I've never taken any risks to do it. Right. And these things that you gotta move on. Anyways. Well, I should get going because the kids are awake, and I think I'm gonna go to Costco. Gotta go to Costco today. I can go and look at these things. I can program out there, so I might work on some of this stuff today. So I will see you guys next week. Was there something we're gonna do next week? I think next week we might be starting to do some more backtesting-ish stuff. We'll see. Actually, I know why. It's just because I have a really booked week next week, actually. So, yes. Okay. And then after that, it's Christmas week, isn't it? It's coming. It's going fast, guys. It's going fast. I hope you got all your presents. Okay. Stay excellent.